أهلا بيكم في دروس الصف الثالث ثانوي للأحياء للغات. Today we're going to continue our talk about the movement in living organisms, and it will be movement in man. So let's begin. Now, movement depends on three systems: the skeletal system, the muscular system, and the nervous system. This is a question, by the way. So movement depends on three systems: skeletal, muscular, and nervous system. The skeletal system, which provides the support by which the muscles act upon, attached to the skeletal system, and acts upon it using the movement range in the joints. The muscular system, of course, it is the machine that produces the movement by contracting and relaxing to move the body or the limbs. The nervous system is the high command, the central command that gives the order to the muscles to contract and relax. So remember, please, movement depends on three systems: skeletal system, muscular system, and the nervous system. Okay? Now, for the muscular system, the unit of structure of the muscular system is the muscle. Unit of structure of the muscular system, of course, it's the muscle. It has muscular tissue, and it's able to perform mechanical movements to transfer from one place to another, and it's usually known as the flesh. The flesh, when you say flesh, you mean the muscles. The number of muscles in man is approximately 620 muscles, around this figure, 620 muscles. Now, there are different types of muscles. We have the skeletal muscle, we have the smooth muscle, we have the cardiac muscle. So skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscle, or the heart, is unique by itself. That's why it's in its own category. Skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscles. Now, functions of muscles. Muscles, through their contraction, is important for movements of different parts of the body in relation to each other, like moving your arm, moving your leg, moving your trunk, your head. So any kind of movement, the one responsible for this movement is the muscle, of course. Another type of movement is transportation, when the whole human being, when the whole organism moves from one place to another. This is called the transportation. Okay? So we have movement. If movement is mentioned, it means movements of the individual limbs or different parts of the body, and they change their relation with the other parts of the body. Transportation by moving the whole thing from one place to another. There is also a continuous movement of blood inside the blood vessels. How this is achieved? The blood vessels themselves are formed by smooth muscles. The blood vessels itself, the wall of the blood vessel, is formed by smooth muscles. It's involuntary muscle, and these smooth muscles contract continuously, okay? And it's responsible for the continuous movement of blood. Of course, the blood, if stagnant, it will coagulate. That's why it has to be in continuous movement. الدم لما بيركض او يبطل حركة بيبقى عرضة انه يتجلط، علشان كده لازم يبقى في حركة مستمرة للبلد inside the blood vessels. And the blood vessel itself is smooth muscle. What else? The muscles maintain the body posture, the body position, the body, orientation in space. This is achieved specially by the muscles of neck, trunk, and the lower limbs. Okay, so the functions of muscles, we have movements of different parts of the body, we have transportation of the whole body, and where there is the continuous movement of blood inside the blood vessels, because blood vessels is made of smooth muscles, and it maintains body posture, either sitting or standing positions, any position, and this is achieved specially by the muscles of the neck and trunk and the lower limbs. Okay, let's come to the structure of the skeletal muscle. تركيب الskeletal muscle. It consists of large number of thin filaments, called muscle cells of muscle fibers. I don't want you to get confused by the word filaments, but I prefer fibers in this area. So it's formed of large number of fibers, muscle cells or muscle fibers. By the way, the muscle fiber is the muscle cell. Okay, so the muscle cell must have protoplasm, must have nuclei, and this is a multinucleated cell. The muscle cell, the skeletal muscle cell, is the multinucleated cell. Now, each muscle fiber, if you go deeper, consists of group of myofibrils. زي تصغير كلمة fiber. myofibril. A group of myofibrils. كل muscle fiber فيها حوالي 1000 ل 2000 myofibril. Okay, they are arranged longitudinally, of course, parallel with the longitudinal axis of the muscle, for the muscle to be able to contract, to shorten, to get shortened, عشان المصل تقصر. Okay, so the unit is the muscle fiber, and each muscle fiber consists of group of myofibrils, around 1000 to 2000. Please learn these numbers by heart, and they are arranged longitudinally and parallel to the longitudinal axis of the muscle. And as we mentioned before, the muscle cell or the muscle fiber is multinucleated. فيها كذا nucleus. Okay? Now, each muscle fiber consists of, we will go deeper, the protoplasm, which contains the cytoplasm, which is called the sarcoplasm, and the multiple nuclei. So the cytoplasm in the muscle cell is called the sarcoplasm. And of course, as like any other cell, it has a membrane. The membrane which surrounds the sarcoplasm is called the sarcolemma. Okay, so the cytoplasm is called sarcoplasm. The membrane is called the sarcolemma. The muscle fibers are collected in groups, as in muscle bundles, as you can see here. Okay, groups or fascicles or bundles, and the group is covered by another membrane. It's called the perimysium. Okay, there is a membrane on the whole muscle. It's called the epimysium, and membrane around the muscle bundles or fascicles called perimysium, while the membrane around the muscle fiber is called, it has another name, it's called the endomysium. Okay, each muscle fiber consists of discs of light band called the eye band. This is the eye band. Okay, this is the eye band. It's called the light band. Light band ليه؟ لأنها بيسموها الشرائط المضيئة أو الأقراص المضيئة، لأن الحاجات اللي فيها رفيعة جدا اللي هي الأكتين. So the eye band is formed by the actin filaments. Okay, and in the middle of this eye band is a Z line that connects the actin together. The Z line. So the eye band, which is a light band, bisected by a dark line called the Z line, and it's formed of actin. Please pay attention to this. Another group of discs are dark. because the filaments are thicker. Okay? It's called the A band. So we have the I band, the light band, and the A band, or the dark band. It's formed of myosin, filaments of myosin, okay? And in the middle of this A band, there's a semi-light area called the H zone. Semi-light area. Why semi-light؟ ليه شبه مضيئة؟ مع ان دي مضيئة، ليه دي شبه مضيئة؟ لان الفايبرز اللي فيها ادخن، فمش هتبقى فاتحة قوي زي دول. Okay? So we have the semi-light bands called the light area called the H zone in the middle of the A band, which is the dark band. What is it formed of? Formed of myosin, okay? Of course, with the actin in between. Actin in between, okay? So again, we have the I band with the Z line in the middle. We have the A band with the H zone in the middle. Okay? And between two Z lines, we call this structure the sarcomere. This is the unit of structure of the muscle fiber. Okay? The unit of structure of the muscle fiber, anatomical unit, I mean not functional unit, the anatomical unit is the sarcomere. Sarcomere means the piece, muscle piece between the two successive Z lines. Okay? And you can assume that in contractions the Z lines come close together, and in relaxation they go back to their resting position. Okay? Now, because we have light bands and dark bands, that's why the muscle is striated, مخططة. شايفين؟ مخططة. This is the A band here. This is the I band here. This is the Z line. This is the Z line, okay? This is formed of myosin. This is here formed of actin. That's why, because this alternation in the thickness of the myofibrils, that's why we have light areas and dark areas. That's why it's called striated muscle. The striated muscles are the skeletal muscles and the cardiac muscle. The cardiac muscle is also striated. Remember this. Cardiac muscle is also striated, like the skeletal muscles. But why did we put the cardiac muscle in its own category? Because it has unique features different than the skeletal muscle. Okay? You will study this when you study the heart in details in medicine. Okay. This is called striations. Are there non-striated muscles? Yes, the smooth muscles, they don't have the light bands and the dark bands. But they have actin and myosin, by the way, but not arranged in a manner that there are striations. So that's why it's called the unstriated muscle. So we have striated muscle, we have unstriated muscle. And the unit of structure in the muscle fiber is the sarcomere. Sarcomere ده بين A و A بين two successive Z lines. Okay? So لو عندنا 3 قطع مثلا، لو عندنا 3 pieces 3 sarcomeres، هيبقى في وسطهم كام؟ 2 Z lines. Okay? 3 sarcomeres 2 Z lines. لكن هم بيبدأوا 3 sarcomeres من Z line هنا ل Z line هنا، يبقى 4 Z lines. فخدوا بالكم من الأسئلة دي. Okay? Okay. I think this is enough about the structure of the muscle fiber. Okay, let's proceed. Muscle contraction. Of course, the muscles contract and relax. That's why it produces its movement by pulling on the bones. And as mentioned before, for the movement to occur, it depends on 3 systems. The skeletal or bony system, by which the muscles is attached to, and using the joints, it crosses joints, of course. The muscle to act, it has to cross a joint. It's useless for a muscle to be attached to the same bone, okay, without passing a joint. There will be no movement. But the muscle to be to exert its effect, it must pass a joint. That's why the skeletal muscle is the skeletal system is important. The nervous system, it is the central command, as I told you before. It gives the orders for the muscles by means of train of nerve impulses. Nerve impulses, نبضات عصبية, for the muscle to contract and relax. And the muscular system, of course itself, the one we are talking about, is the one responsible for movements. Now, for the striated muscles, I cannot say the striated. For the skeletal muscles, they are under the control of will. يعني muscles إرادية. أقدر أحرك إيدي وقت ما أنا عايز في الاتجاه اللي أنا عايزه. أقدر أحرك رجلي في الوقت اللي أنا عايزه في الاتجاه اللي أنا عايزه. لكن ما أقدرش مثلا أسيطر أو أحرك الجهاز الهضمي جوه. ما أقدرش أحرك الهارت، برغم إن الهارت ده سكيلت، ده مش سكيلتال ماسل، سترايتد ماسل. شايفين انا قاعد بتلخبط ازاي؟ فخدوا بالكم. ده سترايتد ماسل، لكن مش معنى ان هو سترايتد يعني ان هو يبقى voluntary muscle. ماسل يعني اراديه، لا، هو لا اراديه برضو زي السموث muscles all over the body. So the rest of the muscles other than skeletal muscles are involuntary muscles. They are not under the control of will. مش تحت سيطرة الإرادة. Okay. Now, in skeletal muscles, the outer surface of the muscle fiber is positive. Why? Because we have high concentration of sodium ions. Sodium ions, they are positively charged. That's why the outer side of the membrane is positive. While the inner side, I cannot say it is negative, but it's negative in comparison to the outer side. Okay? Negative in comparison to or in relation to the outer side. In this state, when the outside is positive and the inside is negative, there is a potential difference between both surfaces, and this is the relaxed state of the muscle. Okay? Relaxed state of the muscle. Okay, now when a stimulus comes for the muscle, it's called the motor impulse coming from the brain and the spinal cord through the motor nerve. This nerve is connected firmly with the muscle fiber through what we call a synapse. This is a synapse or motor end plate. See? Synapse or motor end plate. What happens in this synapse? There are vesicles at the terminal end of the nerves. You see these vesicles? They are full of acetylcholine. Acetylcholine becomes released in the synaptic cleft or the synapse itself and acts on receptors on the muscle fibers. Okay? Acts on receptors on the muscle fibers. So, لما تتسألوا الاسيتيلكولين ده بيجي منين؟ ده بيجي من vesicles، يعني حويصلات زي اكياس كده، كأنه محطوط في اكياس في التيرمينال اند بتاعت النيرف، ولما توصل النبضة العصبية بيحصل تغييرات تؤدي الى ان الكيس ده يفرغ المحتوى اسيتيلكولين. اسيتيلكولين بيبقى في السينابتيك كليفت اللي هو بين التيرمينال اند، بيسموها بوتون كمان، terminal end of the nerve and the muscle, and acts on special receptors at the muscle side and to produce the muscle contraction. Now في مرض مشهور ده مش موجود في الكتاب بس حبيت اقول لكم عليه، اسمه مايستينيا جرافيس. هو ايه اللي بيحصل في المايستينيا جرافيس ده؟ ده عبارة عن اوتو اميون ديزيز، يعني مرض من امراض المناعة، ان بيبقى فيه خلل في الجهاز المناعي اللي في الجسم، فيبدأ يهاجم حاجات في الجسم نفسه، حاجات تبع الجسم نفسه، كأنه يعني قاعد بيضرب كده في كل ناحية، يعني مش قادر يميز ان ده الجسم بتاعه. These are called the autoimmune diseases. الاوتو اميون ديزيز ده بيضرب الريسبتورز اللي بتاعت الاسيتيلكولين اللي هي بتستقبل الاسيتيلكولين على ناحيه المصل. يبقى ايه اللي هيحصل؟ ان هيبقى فيه اسيتيلكولين يفرز ولكن ما فيش استجابه، فهيبقى فيه جنرال ويكنس، هيبقى فيه ضعف عام وحركه بطيئه جدا، slow. فهمتوا قصدي؟ This is called the myasthenia gravis disease. Okay, now when the motor impulse comes to the terminal end, what happens? There's a calcium pump in the cell membrane, pushes calcium inside the cell, causing rupture of the synaptic vesicles. يبقى لو سمحتوا لما تتسألوا what is responsible for the rupture of the synaptic vesicle, your answer is calcium. What happens? Cancel. When the nerve impulse reaches the nerve terminal, calcium pump pushes the calcium inside, and the calcium causes the rupture of the synaptic vesicles. That leads to the release of acetylcholine in the synaptic cleft. يبقى فهمتوا دور الكالسيوم هنا؟ دور الكالسيوم هنا انه يخلي الفيسيكلز تفرقع، تطلع الحاجات اللي فيها اللي هو الاسيتيلكولين. اوكي؟ ناو ده يختلف عن الدور الثاني بقى. الاسيتيلكولين بقى بيعمل ايه؟ بيغير permeability of sodium ions في الريسبتورز اللي موجوده على ناحيه المصل. فالصوديوم يقوم داخل بكتير through the membrane داخل المصل. ده هيغير القطبيه، هيغير بدل ما كان positive outside ونيجاتيف inside بقى نيجاتيف outside وبوزيتيف inside. فهمتوا قصدي ازاي؟ يبقى ريلاكسد ستيت احنا كنا افتكروها دي ان الصوديوم بره دايما، الصوديوم هو اللي شحنته قويه، فoutside is positive in relation to the inside which is negative to the outside. اوكي؟ لكن لما بيوصل الاسيتيلكولين يأثر على الريسبتورز اللي موجودة في السيل ممبرين or المسل ممبرين. This leads to the flux of sodium to the inside. دي حالة اسمها depolarization. depolarization ان الاستقطاب بينعكس، جوه بيبقى inside وبره بيبقى جوه بيبقى positive وبره بيبقى negative. اوكي؟ بعد يعني كسر من الثانية ايه اللي بيحصل؟ لو فضل الامر على كده المصل هتفضل contracting ما ينفعش، لان الاسيتيلكولين لسه موجود والريسبتورز لسه موجوده طبعا. طب ايه العمل؟ ايه الحل؟ في انزيم موجود اسمه كولينستريز انزيم، ده بيكسر الاسيتيلكولين لكولين واسيتيك اسيد، فبيدمر الاسيتيلكولين اللي موجود في السينابتيك كليفت. لما يدمر الاسيتيلكولين اللي موجود في السينابتيك كليفت ده معناها ان النيرف امبلس خلاص مش هتوصل للمصل تاني، او لانها خلصت اصلا اوريدي. اوكي؟ فتبقى المصل هنا ترجع تاني لحاله الريلاكسد ستيت. اوكي؟ ده اسمه ريبولاريزيشن، اعاده استقطاب، ان الصوديوم يطلع بره تاني ويبقى بره بوزيتيف ريلاتيف لجوه اللي بقى نيجاتيف المره دي. اوكي؟ ده كده يهيئ العضله انها تستقبل نبضه عصبيه تانيه ويحصل contraction تاني and etc. okay so forth. relaxation contraction relaxation contraction. اوكي؟ فبليز don't get confused. النبضه العصبيه لما توصل كالسيوم هيدخل هيفرقع الفيسيكلز اللي فيها الاسيتيلكولين. اسيتيلكولين هيطلع في السينابتيك كليفت، ليه ريسبتورز موجوده على المسل سايد، هيدخل الصوديوم جوه اكتر فيحصل الديبولاريزيشن، جوه يبقى بوزيتيف بالنسبه للي بره. بعد كده اسيتيلكولين ستريز بيكسر الاسيتيلكولين لكولين اند اسيتيك اسيد، فينتهي تأثير الاسيتيلكولين، فترجع تاني الصوديوم لبره، وده اسمه ريبولاريزيشن، وهلم جرة من cycles of contraction and relaxation. اوكي؟ مهم جدا ان انتوا تفهموا الحاجات دي لان فيها اسئلة كتير هنا في الحتة دي. I hope you got the maximum benefit from this lecture and thank you very much for watching.